We're going to dive into a blueprint, one that was written, get this, over 75 years ago, but somehow it feels like it understands our world, our digital lives, almost better than we do. Of course, I'm talking about George Orwell's 1984, and trust me, its predictions, they are more real right now than ever before. So, let me ask you something. What if the most dangerous weapon in, say, 2026 isn't a bomb? I mean, think about it. We pour trillions of dollars into preparing for physical threats, bombs, battles, all that stuff. But what if the real weapon of our time isn't something that explodes? What if it's just an idea? And what if the battleground has already shifted right under our noses from the physical world to the world of information? What if it's that screen you're holding in your pocket? Yeah, that's the really unsettling idea we're going to get into. The amazing part is, the blueprint for this new kind of power, it was laid out all the way back in 1949, and it predicted a future that we're basically living in right now, a lot closer than anyone ever expected. Okay, so let's dive into the 1984 blueprint. To really get a handle on where we are today, we've got to go back to George Orwell's masterpiece, 1984. I mean, for a long time, everyone just thought of it as fiction, right? But today, well, a lot of people are starting to see it as a chillingly accurate framework for the very systems that run our lives. And here's the core shift, the big idea. In our world of algorithms and data, power doesn't really look like soldiers in the street anymore. It looks like having control over what's true. The book imagined a society that was ruled by just one single idea: absolute control. Control over people, sure, control over information, but the big one, the most important one, control over reality itself.
So how did they do it? Well, the method for this control is actually brilliantly simple. You've got the main character, Winston, and his whole job, his only job, is to edit history. So if the party says, hey, we were never at war with that country we were definitely fighting yesterday, it's Winston's job to make sure every single record agrees. And poof, just like that, objective truth, it's just gone.
All right, so let's talk about the new surveillance. We're going to take that idea of control and apply it to probably the most famous concept from the whole book, surveillance. Because this is where things start to feel less like fiction and a lot more like our daily reality. So in Orwell's world, right, everyone is watched by these things called telescreens. They're everywhere, in your home, on the street, and they're always listening, always observing. Back in 1949, that must have sounded like pure science fiction. But look around today. We literally carry devices in our pockets that track our location, listen for voice commands, and learn every single one of our habits.
But here is the absolute game changer. This is the crucial difference in strategy. See, Orwell's party used fear. Plain and simple. Big Brother is watching you, and you had to obey. Today's system, it's way more subtle. It doesn't need fear, because it has something much, much more powerful: convenience. We willingly trade our privacy for a better user experience, for those perfectly targeted ads, for a life that's just easier.
And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? Today, Big Brother doesn't need posters. He has terms and conditions. We all do it. We click agree without even thinking about it. And in that one click, we are opting into a level of monitoring that the characters in Orwell's book were forced into. Okay, so next up, a filtered reality. Look, surveillance was really only the beginning. Orwell's most powerful idea was actually way more subtle, and it had to do with controlling not just what you do, but what you can even think. He had a name for it: newspeak. And the idea was both simple and absolutely terrifying. You just systematically simplify the language. You start removing any words that could be used to express rebellious or, independent thoughts. So, for example, how do you get rid of the entire concept of freedom? Well, you just slowly erase the words we use to describe it. You shrink the vocabulary down until the idea itself becomes, well, literally unspeakable. The logic behind this is just chillingly simple, right? It all leads to one terrifying conclusion. If you can't say it, you can't think it. And that is the crucial point. Language isn't just for talking to each other. It's the toolbox we use to build our thoughts. So if you limit the tools, you limit the ideas that can ever be built in the first place. Dissent doesn't just become impossible, it becomes literally unthinkable. Okay, so fast forward to today. We don't have some official Newspeak dictionary, obviously. But what we do have are algorithms,
Online platforms are deciding what you see every single day. They amplify some voices, they bury others, and they promote certain ideas over others. And what's the result? It's a filtered reality, where our very range of thought is being shaped, and a lot of the time, we don't even realize it's happening. And this all leads us to the system's secret twist. This is, hands down, the scariest part of Orwell's vision. It's not about physical control anymore. It's about something much, much deeper. And honestly, it's the part of the story that most people completely miss. You see, the party doesn't just want you to obey. It wants you to genuinely believe. The ultimate power isn't forcing you to do something. It's making you abandon your own logic and accept an obvious lie as the truth. I mean, in a world of deep fakes and just constant misinformation, does that sound at all familiar? And this brings us to the novel's final, just devastating twist. Winston thinks he's found hope. He thinks he's joined a secret resistance movement. But the whole thing, it's a trap. The rebellion was created and controlled by the party the entire time. It was a net designed to find and eliminate anyone who still had the guts to think for themselves. And this is the really profound insight. The most powerful systems, the smartest ones, they don't crush opposition. They manage it. They don't silence dissent. They give it a platform. They let you turn your real anger into harmless online content. They let rebellion become a t-shirt you can buy. They turn your outrage into monetized clicks. They manage the opposition so that it never, ever becomes a real threat. So, where does all this leave us? Let's talk about the final warning, apathy. Because Orwell's book, when you really get down to it, it isn't a story about some evil government. It's a story about us, about human behavior. And his final warning? It's aimed directly at you and me. Think about this. The greatest threat to freedom isn't oppression. It's apathy. The party in 1984 didn't win because they were all powerful. No, they won because eventually people just stopped questioning things. They traded away their freedom piece by piece for a little more comfort, a little more safety, a little more entertainment, until one day they had nothing left to trade. So here in 2026, the real question isn't whether we're being watched. I mean, come on, we know we are. We accept it every single time we unlock our phones. The real question goes a lot deeper than that. It's whether we still care. Do we? Do we care enough to actually question things, enough to go looking for information that isn't fed to us by an algorithm? Do we care enough to value what's true over what's comfortable? Because, once we stop caring, that's it. Big Brother doesn't have to break down the door. We've already unlocked it and invited him in. And that's the question we're left with. Was his book a warning? A cautionary tale about a future we could still avoid? Or was it a prediction of a reality that in the end, we were always going to choose for ourselves? The answer, well, that's still being written.